We're going to continue on the theme of life sciences now and hear from Chemiocare, who are developing some solutions to improve the quality of life of patients undergoing chemotherapy. A very worthy cause, and to tell you all about it, their chairman and CEO, Pedro Lichtinger. Pedro.
Thank you and good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. Just a few introductory remarks. My name is Pedro Lichtinger. I've spent all my career in pharmaceuticals and biotechnology, most of it at Pfizer Inc., where I was the president of Europe, and after that the president of Global Primary Care, and I was managing at a given point in time development for Pfizer, which included from 70 to 120 clinical programs. I have managed, after leaving Pfizer, 2 biotechnology companies successfully, and this is my third one. I co-founded this company about a year ago, and I think it is the most exciting thing I have done. Almost all of us have had a relative or a friend that has gone through chemotherapy. Unfortunately, cancer continues to grow in the world, and chemotherapy use is here to stay. At the ASCO meeting that just happened recently, checkpoint inhibitors, which are the most novel way of treating cancer today, have proven that in combination with chemotherapy agents, they actually obtain better outcomes. So they will be with us for the long term. Our company simply focuses on helping the quality of life, improving that quality of life following the chemotherapy application. As you know, when you get chemotherapy, you go through 5 days of basically very poor conditions with multiple side effects, the most important of which is of course, vomiting and immune suppression. Up to 5% of patients exit the chemotherapy and are destined to death because they cannot tolerate the side effects of chemotherapy. And basically what we're doing is improving those outcomes and allowing the patient to tolerate better the necessary aggressive therapies that are imposed on them. So our company has what's called a reformulation platform. What we do is we take old established generic products. In this case, we have selected chemotherapy-induced vomiting and nausea. It's better known as CINV. And we take the medicines that are recommended by ASCO to be used, we put them in a transdermal patch, transform how they behave in the body of the patient, and have on the one side the advantage of leveraging the well-established safety and efficacy of those drugs, but also do conduct clinical trials to obtain superiority on label. Because what we want is a clear, established, superior alternative for the patient. So basically, the result of this is a model where we have a significantly faster to market path. You heard before that that was 8 years. In our case, we're talking about 4 years, not 8 years, and not 12 years. We are also talking about a significantly lower level of risk, and of course a low intensity of capital. That is the foundation of our model. We don't have to go through a phase 1 or a phase 2. We go straight to a phase 3 clinical trial. And of course, we do have to develop the formulation. So we have multiple patches in development. I am going to focus most of the presentation on our lead program. Our lead program is focused on renewing and providing superiority to Zofran. Zofran is one of the old, but actually one of the most effective antiemetics in the market. It was invented by Glaxo. It was introduced to the market in 1983. It still has 8 million prescriptions per year in the United States and sells as a generic with more than 10 sources providing the product, close to $200 million in the United States. So what are we doing with ondansetron? It's very simple. We are taking what is an IV in the first day and then followed for 4 days for twice-a-day orals during a period where the patient is vomiting 12 times or more. And what we do is we put it in a transdermal patch that gradually releases over the 5-day period. Because it is transdermal, it does not have what we call the Cmax, which is the high blood levels that are characteristic of a oral or an IV dose and that generate side effects. And at the same time, we avoid the valleys because after a period of hours, the drug is excreted from the body and it falls to a stage where it is no longer as effective as it should be. We peg about 10% above the level of efficacy and stay there for 5 days, end up delivering about 80% less active ingredient to the patient, and therefore have significantly lower side effects as well as significantly improved efficacy. Just to show you how bad the outcomes for the patient are, you can see in this slide, I'll jump straight to the last one, where you can see that after giving the patient 3 medicines, the patient still has over 50%, almost 60% in what's called the HEC delay. This is the high risk of emesis patient. The classification is dictated by the type of chemotherapy agent that they use. And in those patients, 35%, which in the United States is 500,000 patients that undergo through on average 6 cycles of chemotherapy, close to 60% continue to vomit. And this is assuming that actually the regimen is complied on. And as you can see on the right, in a recent survey, only 29% of the American hospitals actually comply with the recommendations from ASCO. So the situation in the market is actually significantly worse. That is exactly our target. We expect to be the first 5-HT3 receptor antagonist. This is the family of medicines to which ondansetron belongs to. And we expect to be the first in this family to obtain an indication that is covering the high risk of emesis patient in the delayed stage. No product of this class has an indication. They have tried and they have failed. And in our view, the characteristics of the transdermal delivery allow us to have a stronger dose and have a sustained 5-day protection for the patient that will allow us to get this indication. We have a very broad intellectual property protection, and here you have it. I think I already got the bell, so I have to run, but just to highlight, we will have 4 what's called Orange Book listable patents, which extend and provide exclusivity through 2040. Basically, we are in the middle of a private capital raise. This private capital raise is raising between $6 and $11 million. We have already completed the first portion of the capital raise, and this money will allow us to complete the development of the patch in proof of concept in animals and in humans, and be ready in the first quarter of next year to go through an IPO and to raise the capital to run the clinical trial. As I said before, we'll jump directly to a phase 3 trial. This is just a summary of who we are, just to highlight our chief medical officer. He developed 2 drugs in this specific segment, Catril and Sancuso. He did the clinical programs, executed them, got the products registered by the FDA, and got them launched. So we have a very experienced team, and expect to be launching the program in the second half of 2019. From then, the path to market is 10 months of FDA review, and we are ready to sell. So we think this is very exciting. Our valuation from now to the IPO is expected to jump 6 to 10 times, and long term, a lot more. So I want to stop here and thank you very much for your attention.